What's happening, my fellow women's football fans? I'm Bryce, and welcome to another episode of the Women's Soccer/Football Podcast, where we talk all about the world of women's football and everything glorious that goes on in it. We flipped the calendar. It is now Tuesday, March 2nd at approximately 4:31 p.m. The sun is shining. It's above 40 degrees finally, and hopefully spring isn't just making a cameo. Hopefully it'll be around to stay. We've got another great show for you guys here today. First, I just want to plug a couple of things, guys. If you like what you're seeing on YouTube, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It helps it out a lot, and I certainly do appreciate all of you returning. Whether you're new or returning, I'm just happy you're here. And if you guys are watching this on YouTube and you want to listen to this on the go, we also have an audio version of the podcast where you can find it on your app of choice, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and many, many more. And we're also on TikTok and Instagram for those of you who are into that kind of thing as well, and we have a ton of fun with it, so feel free to check us out. I'll link all of that down in the description below for your viewing pleasure. So, let's get into the segments for today, starting off with segment 1, which is going to be the weekly recap. First and foremost, it looks like Ron Burkle of the Sacramento Republic ownership group has pulled out of the MLS part of the deal. So, from what I've been hearing and seeing, with him pulling out of the MLS side of that deal, it looks like the MLS will not be getting a Sacramento Republic team. I'm not sure what Ron Burkle's departure means for the NWSL side of the house. I don't know if this still means they'll get a team in Sacramento, if that's yet to be seen. I don't know how deep into the deal they are. The point of this basically means keep your eyes peeled because there may be ramifications of Ron Burkle stepping out that we just don't know yet, so keep your eyes open. Moving on to the next point of the weekly recap. U.S. Soccer held its general annual meeting, the GAM they call it, this week. What were some of the outcomes? Well, Bill Taylor, the current president of the Idaho Youth Soccer Association, was elected to be the next vice president of the United States Soccer Federation. He had some tough competition, but he's the one who ended up receiving most of the votes. Cindy Parlow remains U.S. Soccer's president after running unopposed. For those of you who don't know, she took over for Carlos Cordero, who resigned about a year ago after he made some very sexist comments. We'll just go with that. If you guys are curious about it, look back into the archives of social media and you will find out exactly what he said. Another outcome that came out of the annual general meeting, policy 604-1, which is the policy that stated that, or mandated, that required all Federation players to stand during the national anthem. It was repealed in the meeting by a 71.34 majority vote. The policy was actually repealed last year by the board of directors, but because of U.S. Soccer's bylaws, they needed the National Council to make it official. For those of you who don't know the history of the bylaw, it was created back in 2016, right around the time when Colin Kaepernick started kneeling in protest of police brutality toward black men and women. And Megan Rapinoe knelt with him in solidarity, which full credit to both of them for standing up for what they, well, not standing up, kneeling for what they believe in. It's very admirable and something that we can all learn from. One other noteworthy thing from that particular point, I believe his name is Seth John, made a very, I haven't heard the speech yet, so I can't comment as to the content of it, but it attracted a lot of attention. It had a lot of racist connotations from what I've been hearing and seeing. So if you guys are more curious about that, look up the general annual meeting of the U.S. Soccer YouTube channel, and you'll see that entire meeting and speech in its entirety. Like I said, I have not heard his quote-unquote speech yet. I heard it was more of like a 6-minute rant than anything, so I can't really comment on it further than that, but I heard it's not good. In fact, I heard it was quite racist, so that's a whole nother story altogether. I just hope that it wasn't as bad as I was hearing. But anyways, moving into the last point of the weekly recap, the Chicago Red Stars have announced a new ownership group, which features quite a bit of diversity. That's actually going to be one of our main topics for today, so I'll get into that very, very soon. With the first the first segment down out of the way, which is the weekly recap, let's get into the second segment, which is going to be the FAWSL match week results. 3 matches were made up at the weekend because of different postponements and things like that. The FAWSL wanted to squeeze in those games right before play resumed after the international break because this would be the ideal time to do it. So some players played on Wednesday and then had to come back to England and play on Sunday, which, hey, they're professionals. That's just kind of part of the gig. But anyway, three matches from up at the weekend. Who all played? Arsenal and Aston Villa played. Birmingham City and Manchester City played. And Everton and Tottenham played. All very excellent games to keep your eyes on. How did they all turn out? Arsenal won by a scoreline of 4 to Aston Villa's 0. Who all scored for Arsenal? It all came in the second half. That's the game I actually watched because all three of them happened at the same time, so I couldn't watch all three. Vivian Miedema opened the scoring in the 58th minute. She received a cross from the right wing and tapped it into the left side of goal, which was super exciting. I really enjoy seeing her golden boot goal tally just rise up and up and up. The second goal of the game came from Jordan Nobbs in the 67th minute. Vivian Miedema actually almost got her brace here. She shot it. It was saved by the keeper. It was rebounded to Jordan Nobbs, who put it into the back of the net. So good on Jordan Nobbs also for getting a score in that game. The third goal of the game came from the honorable, the wonderful Katie McCabe in the 73rd minute. If you have not seen this goal, please go onto the FA Player and watch this goal right now. This was a belter, I believe, from about 25 yards out, if I'm not mistaken. She crushed it. She absolutely crushed this ball, and it hit the back of the net so hard, it basically bounced off it like a bouncy ball on concrete. It was really cool to see. Good on Katie McCabe for that. I'm sure that's a big confidence booster. Then, last but not least, Lisa Evans capped off the scoring in the 88th minute. She received a cross from the outside the penalty area and headed it into goal. So really cool to see Lisa Evans get onto the pitch, get some minutes, and also score. So good on Arsenal for this game because it wasn't really looking too good for them going into the international break, and now every point matters. So this is a good start for the rest of the season for them. The second game was Birmingham City and Manchester City. Manchester City won this one by a scoreline of 4 to Birmingham City's 0. Who all scored for Manchester City? Sammy Mewey had a brace. Despite not being able to play in the She Believes Cup, she came back in great form. She scored in the 40th minute and in the 52nd minute, so she scored a good portion of the goals for Manchester City that game. Lauren Hemp scored just a minute after Sam Ewis' second goal, so in the 53rd minute to extend their lead. And then last but not least, Caroline Weir scored in the 66th minute to cap off the scoring and solidify Manchester City's result. So Manchester City just keeps on steamrolling everybody and keeps on winning. I still stand by. They're going to win out and they're going to win the WSL and they'll win the Champions League. Mark my words, there's a good chance it'll happen. Last but not least, we had Tottenham and Everton. This was a really tight game going off of two teams who really, really needed points. Everton came out on top in this one. Everton won by a scoreline of 3 to Tottenham's 2. Who scored for Tottenham? Addison scored in the 35th minute and Davis scored in the 57th minute. And then for Everton, Valerie Govan, the French woman, scored a brace in the 8th minute, opening up the scoring, and then 10 minutes later in the 18th minute. And then their loan signing, Jill Scott, scored in the 61st minute, scoring her first goal for the Toffees since joining. So really exciting results all the way around. Guys, what do you make of the results around the FAWSL? Feel free to jump down in the comments below and let me know what you think. All right, so with the second segment down out of the way, let's get into the third segment, which is just going to be after all of those glorious results, what does the Golden Boot race look like? So let's get into that. The top scorers for the FAWSL, we'll go with the top 5 today, include at number 1, Vivian Miedema. She's got 13 goals, especially after scoring against Aston Villa at the weekend. In second, we've got Fran Kirby of Chelsea with 11 goals. Tied with Fran Kirby at second place is her teammate Sam Kerr, also with 11 goals. Tied for fourth, not tied for fourth. In fourth, we've got Ellen White of Manchester City with 8 goals. And then tied for fifth, we have 3 different players. 2 of them play for Arsenal, 1 plays for Chelsea. Caitlin Ford's got 7. She plays for Arsenal. Jill Ward has 7 goals, plays for Arsenal. And then Pernille Harder plays for Chelsea. She's got 7 goals. Sorry, I keep getting distracted. My eye's a little twitchy today. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Those are the top 5 goal scorers of the FAWSL so far, guys. Who do you think is going to come out victorious at the end of the season? Feel free to let me know down in the comments below. Let's also look at the top assists, because I like to do this each and every week to supplement the top scorers. Who's got the most assists in the FAWSL? Still at the top of the list, we've got Chloe Kelly of Manchester City with 9 assists. Then in second, we've got 2 people tied for that. That's Beth Mead of Arsenal with 7 assists, and also her teammate Katie McCabe with 7 assists. And then in fourth, we've got Fran Kirby of Chelsea, who's got 6 assists. Tied for fifth, we have 2 different players. One of them is Caitlin Ford of Arsenal with 5 assists. Then the other is Beth England of Chelsea, also with 5 assists. So those are your top 5 goal scorers and assist leaders of the league. Can't wait to see how those races are going to shake up. It keeps getting tighter as the season comes to a close, so Keep your eyes peeled, everybody. Alrighty, so with the Golden Boot race updated and out of the way, let's get into our fourth and final segment before we get into our main topics, which is going to be my favorite segment, the Moment of Silence, where we take a few moments and just dedicate to anything in the world of WOSO that you absolutely love, cherish, and the like. For me this week, I'm going to dedicate my Moment of Silence to the honorable, the wonderful goal that Katie McCabe had against Aston Villa. That belter from 25 yards out with the right foot still hums and whistles in my left ear as I'm watching the game. I can still picture it now in my mind's eye. So like I said, if you haven't been able to watch that goal, feel free to go onto the FA player and check it out. So on the count of three, ladies and gentlemen, if you'll join me in the moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. Salute. Alright guys. So who'd you dedicate your moment of silence for? Feel free to let me know down in the comments below at your leisure. With all of our glorious segments down and out of the way, it's time to get into our main topics. What are the main topics, you might be wondering? They are just some different topics that I end up selecting from around the world of WOSO that I'd like to take a deeper dive and analysis into, just to spark a little bit of debate and discussion amongst everybody in the fandom. So without further ado, let's get into the first main topic. The first main topic is just going to be some reactions and thoughts from the results of match week 15.5. I'll call it 15.5 because it wasn't really a full match week. It was all makeups. But just with some of the results being done and dusted, there are some implications of them, I believe. There's 3 different ones, one dedicated to each game. All of them are to the winners. First, Arsenal is down, but they are not out. With their loss to Chelsea a couple weeks back, their Champions League hopes took a bit of a blow. I made a whole video pretty much dedicated to talking about what they would have to do from then on in order to get into the Champions League. One of those things was not dropping very many points. They dropped 3 since then. If they drop 3 more, their hopes of the Champions League are out of reach, but they still have a grasp and have a chance to make it to the Champions League, and their results prove that there's still life in them to do so. Their convincing win against Arsenal, they were on the front foot most of the game, and it surprised me that it actually took them that long to score all the way up until the 57th minute. This game probably could have ended 7-0 if they really took advantage of all their chances and just maybe had more chances overall. I was surprised they didn't win by more, but the fact is they had a really strong result, and it's a positive indicator for them going forward, especially since all of their key pieces performed really, really well during the international break. Viv scored for the Netherlands, Daniel Van de Donk scored for the Netherlands. Several of their players had really good performances over the international break, and it looks like that's translating into their FAWSL play. So good on them for that. And if Arsenal win these next games, the match against Man United is going to be very, very interesting because I believe there's only 2 matches left until they have to play Manchester United on March 18th. So if both of those teams, both Man United and Arsenal keep winning until then, that match is going to decide that last Champions League spot, I believe. So that's going to be my match of the season going forward. My second match of the season for that is going to be Manchester City and Chelsea later on in April. So those are just some thoughts. Arsenal's down, but not out. What is my second takeaway from the match at the weekend? Manchester City is still dominating and will continue to do so. I've said in recent episodes that, and other content on TikTok, Instagram, and the like, that Manchester City is going to win the league and also win out for the rest of the season. And this win continues to just support that hypothesis a little bit more. And what's really scary about Manchester City at this point in the game or in the season is the fact that they're crushing teams, like consistently crushing and beating top 4, bottom 4, anybody in the table teams. And they did a lot of it like in the last month without Sam Mewis. And now they've got Sam Mewis back. And assuming she stays healthy for the rest of the season, which Sam Mewis is pretty durable, so I don't see that being an issue. I seriously don't see Manchester City losing for the rest of the season. So that's something to keep your eyes out on as we continue moving forward. Excuse me while I take a drink of water. Delicious. Okay, so last thought about in reaction from the FAWSL match weekend. Everton is still capable of winning games. I know that sounds kind of facetious because I've been pretty hard on Everton this season. They started off like super strong. I believe they're in the top 3 for like a good portion of the beginning of the season. And since then, they've pretty much had the most inconsistent form in the league. They will win a game, they'll draw 3 games, they'll lose 2 games, they'll win a game, they'll draw 3 games, they'll lose 2 games. It's really, really weird. And to me, their win over Tottenham, although it wasn't a huge win, by score tally, it was a huge win for them mentally, proving that they've got the guts in order to keep their position and keep into the top 5 by the end of the FAWSL season. I don't see them making Champions League, but the reality of it is, I believe by points it's still technically possible. I don't see it happening, but it proves that there's still some fight in them, and they've still got the, I guess, stones in order to make it to the end of the season and keep their spot. So something to keep their eye on as well. And it was really exciting to see that their main pieces, such as Valerie Govan, one of their big investments, and Jill Scott, their loan signing, who's also a world-renowned player, were clicking on all cylinders and scoring for the club. So really exciting times, I think, for Everton are ahead. All right, guys, so since there's only 3 games at the weekend, that will do it for my match week reaction for the FAWSL. That's match week 15.5 reaction, if you want to call it anything else. What do you think about those matches? Are there any other thoughts that you have about other teams? Feel free to jump down in the comments below and let me know what you thought. All right, so with the first main topic down and out of the way, let's get into the second main topic. The second main topic is going to be the FAWSL Match Week 16 preview. So I know I'm recording this on Tuesday. I'm going to schedule this to release on Thursday, so it'll be a little bit closer to the FAWSL Match Weekend by then. But the FAWSL is back in full swing this weekend since the international break is over. The international break was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed it as a U.S. fan because we got to watch the U.S. in the She Believes Cup. I wish I'd gotten more insight into other matches from around the world, but that kept me pretty busy, especially in terms of content creation. But nevertheless, what does match week 16 look like for the FAWSL? Manchester United and Aston Villa are going to take each other on. Birmingham City and Arsenal are going to take each other on. Brighton and Tottenham will take each other on. Manchester City and Everton. And then lastly, West Ham's United against Chelsea. What are some of my scoreline predictions for this particular match week? So we'll start off with Manchester United and Aston Villa. Me personally, I've got Manchester United beating Aston Villa by a scoreline of 2-0. If Manchester United are going to take that top 3 spot and make it to their Champions League for next season, there's very little margin for error. They can't drop very many more points without Arsenal or even maybe Everton encroaching upon their position in the table. So every point is going to matter for them. And they are playing against a really weak Aston Villa side who's in a relegation battle, I would argue, currently, and I don't see them losing to Aston Villa. Having said that, it's not really their style this season in order to crush teams. It's very rare where they'll beat a team. I don't think they've actually done this all season, beat a team by a scoreline of 4 or more to 0. Most of their games have been 3-0, 2-0, 3-1. That they usually win by 2 goals, and I don't think that the situation will be very much different. So for me, I think they're going to win this one by a scoreline of 2-0. Who do I think will score? I'm gonna go with a wild card here. I think Kristen Press will score 1 goal, and I think Jackie Gronin will score the second. Those are my wild predictions for that. Just pulling it out of the top of my head. No particular reason why, honestly. Next match is going to be Birmingham City and Arsenal. I've got Arsenal winning this one by a scoreline of 3 to Birmingham City's 1. Arsenal are in a very, very similar situation as Manchester United, like I just said. They can't keep dropping points because otherwise that Champions League margin is going to slip away into obscurity. If Arsenal loses one more game, it makes it nearly impossible for them to make it to the Champions League. That means the next closest team for them would still be United, but United after that would have to drop 7 or 8 points. It's insane. So every game matters for Arsenal. With the momentum they've got riding on against Aston Villa, I see them beating Birmingham City here, especially since Birmingham City just got thrashed by Manchester City. They'll be down and out and maybe down in the dumps, having to play 2 top 4 teams in a row. That's not easy for a team that's in the middle or bottom of the table. The pieces are clicking for Arsenal. A lot of their biggest pieces, Katie McCabe, Viv Miedema, Beth Mead, they're all performing really, really well. They're on a good run of form, and I expect that to continue to this game. So everything's going for Arsenal in the right direction at this point. The third match of the weekend is going to be Brighton and Tottenham. I've got Brighton beating Tottenham by a scoreline of 2 to Tottenham's 1. I think Brighton are in pretty fine form lately. If you recall a few weeks ago, they lost to Bristol City, which was a shock result. It destroyed my mind. They blew it away, that's for sure. But the very next week, they retaliated, they recovered, and they beat the number 1 team in the league in Chelsea in order to knock them off of their perfect record that's been standing for 2 years, apparently. So they've done really, really well to slowly crawl their way out of the relegation battle. After they lost to Bristol City, there was a lot of relegation talk. Like, this is a real possibility they could get relegated to the championship next season. But since then, they've found their footing. They keep getting points. Even, like, they don't even have to win every game. They just have to keep earning a point each week, and you can slowly get yourself out of that divot. And they seem to be doing that. On the other side of the coin is Tottenham can't really seem to find their footing pretty consistently. They've lost their last 3 matches in a row. They went on a really good run, I believe, in January, where they went from second bottom all the way to like 7th. And they're still in 7th, if I'm not mistaken, but they just haven't been able to find their footing lately. They've been in really poor form, so I think Brighton's going to take advantage of that and end up coming out on top. Not by much, but Brighton will win this one. Next up on the docket is going to be Manchester City and Everton. I've got Manchester City beating Everton by a scoreline of 4 to Everton's 0. The main reason being is Manchester City absolutely love to beat Everton. They have beat them in big games, small games. They've beaten them by large margins, small margins. It's insane. They've been kicking their butt all season long. It started all the way back at the very beginning of the season when Everton lost to Manchester City in the FA Cup final. And then I believe a couple times this season they faced Everton again and they've thrashed them. Like, I think the last time out, Manchester City won 6-0. If I'm not mistaken, I'll have to double check back that in the FA player. But like I said, Manchester City love to beat this team. They've been beating everybody else in the world as of late and by a steady margin too. I don't see why they can't do the same to Everton since Everton are a little inconsistent. Having said that, like I said earlier, Everton's pieces are clicking a little bit, so time will tell how that goes. I still don't think it'll be nearly enough. Manchester City's too powerful, so Manchester City will cruise and continue crushing everyone, and it won't stop here. Next and last match of the FAWSL match week 16, we've got West Ham United taking on Chelsea. I've got Chelsea crushing West Ham United by a scoreline of 4-0. West Ham are in a relegation battle, and when I say they're in a relegation battle, I mean they're second bottom, and they are only 2 points ahead of Bristol City, and Bristol City have a game in hand on them. So, if Bristol City were to hypothetically play a game and win today, West Ham would be in the relegation spot. So it's not really looking too good for West Ham. I said earlier on in the season that I still think Bristol City will get relegated. For me, that still stands, but man, West Ham are really tempting to change my mind a little bit here. I'm going to stick with Bristol City, but West Ham United are on the chopping block. They're playing the best team in the league. I think Chelsea's going to be too powerful for them. Pernille Harder's been scoring like a mad woman lately. Fran Kirby's been playing really well. Sam Kerr's been playing really well. Beth England's been playing really well. Nobody on Chelsea as of late has been playing poorly, and that's why I think they will crush the West Ham United team that is currently facing relegation. So keep your eyes open for these games, guys, because there's going to be a lot of top table, bottom table clashes this week between Man United, Arsenal. I wouldn't call Manchester City and Everton a bottom table, but Chelsea and West Ham United. So it's going to be a big week. Every week counts for a lot of these teams. Are you excited for match week 16? What are your score predictions? Feel free to jump down in the comments below and let me know what you think. All right, guys, so we're just kind of cruising right through the episode this week. Let's just keep it going. So with the second main topic down and out of the way, let's get into the third and final main topic for this particular podcast episode, which is going to be, drumroll please, the Chicago Red Stars have announced an expanded ownership group. So there was Twitter chatter months ago, I believe, from a few analysts and also from a few other journalists from around the country saying that the Chicago Red Stars were working on expanding their ownership group and that it would feature a lot of Chicago natives or people who are currently residing in Chicago, live in Chicago, and also a lot of big names that we would recognize. Well, on Monday, which was yesterday morning, I believe it was really early yesterday morning, they unveiled this new ownership group, and it's really, really exciting. I am really happy that the NWSL is getting more owners. More owners means more diverse perspectives. More diverse perspectives means more reach into the entire league and more money. So it's really, really exciting to see that the Chicago Red Stars are expanding it. And it's really cool to see, too, that not only are they investing in expanding their front office and their ownership group, but also in their players and teams. The Chicago Red Stars as an organization are really trying to become a powerhouse. They're investing in every single side of their club, and it's just excellent to see. I expect big things for the Chicago Red Stars going forward, not only on the field but off the field as well. So having said all of that, who was added to the ownership group announced on Monday. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of information about each investor that I was able to find because you might not recognize a lot of some of the names on this list, which is one nitpick of mine. But anyways, without further ado, who was added to the list? So I want to be clear here. Arnim Whistler is still the majority owner of the team. He was the majority owner of the team before this new group was announced, and he is still currently the majority owner. And he's also one of the founding members, too, from all the way back in 2007. So really exciting to see. Arnim Whistler does real estate and design of some kind. It's really weird for him being like such a big figure in the organization. He kind of flies under the radar, at least from what I was seeing, but that's neither here nor there. Next up, Israel Idadane. He was a Chicago Bears defensive end for a while. I believe he retired in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. He's originally from Nigeria. He is Nigerian-Canadian, and he's also got a comic that he writes called The Protectors, which I thought was really fascinating. It's made a feature at Comic-Con. I believe it was Comic-Con in 2012, but I'll have to fact-check myself later on that. So, Israel Idanahe. I said his name wrong first, didn't I? His name is Israel Idanahe. Why do I have such a hard time saying his name? Israel Idanahe. That's it. Okay, I just got to slow down when I say his name. So, moving on, next in the list, we have Kendall Coyne Scofield. For those of you who don't know who that is, she is an Olympic gold medalist, and she also plays for the United States women's national hockey team. So, it's really cool here to see I guess a counterpart within the United States overall sports landscape. It shows that these athletes are investing in each other, and it's cool that they support each other in everything they do in their adventures. And plus, one cool thing about Kendall Coyne Scofield, that I did not know earlier is that she is the Chicago Blackhawks development coach, which is really, really cool, or rather one of them. She was born in Illinois as well. She has also done some color commentating for different TV networks, so Kendall is a woman of all trades. She's done a lot of different things, which is really cool to see that diverse skill set. Oh, excuse me, guys. Next up on the list, Sarah Spain. Sarah Spain is an ESPN analyst. She has been a big advocate for the NWSL for a while now. I couldn't find much more information on her other than that she was an ESPN analyst, and from what I've seen on her shows on ESPN. So if you're curious, feel free to do some research on your own. I feel bad because a lot of the research I did, I still could not find a ton of information on these people, so forgive me, guys, if my information is a little bit lacking. Next up on the list is Colleen Maris. I believe it's Maris, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. She is a music executive who manages a very high-profile rapper who's from, you guessed it, Chicago, Illinois. Who is that high-profile rapper? It is Chance the Rapper. She manages Chance the Rapper. She studied at Columbia University in Chicago. She's got roots there. And it's really cool to see someone from the music industry involved, so that's really exciting to see as well. It's just so cool that she manages Chance the Rapper. I was reading a little bit on her backstory in the article that I could find on her, and I highly recommend looking her up. It's really cool information. She's from Los Angeles originally, if I'm not mistaken. Next up on the list of the new owners that were added include Julie Hadden. She is the senior. She is the senior vice president of marketing in the National Football League, that is the NFL. So again, another example of women supporting women. I couldn't really find any other information on her other than that, but she is on Twitter for those of you who want to give her a follow. It's really, really exciting stuff to see that a lot of these big public figures are a little bit more visible in the public eye. Next up on the list is Marie Tillman. Marie Tillman is the chair and co-founder of the Pat Tillman Foundation. She's also the founder of Mac and Mia, which was a curated children's clothing service, which is located in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. She's also an author, so she is a very big philanthropist in the community of Chicago, and it's really cool to see that she's extending that philanthropic reach by helping own the Chicago Red Stars. Again, another example of women supporting women, which is always excellent to see. Next up, we've got Michael Scofield, who is an NFL lineman for the Carolina Panthers. He is also from Illinois. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he is married to Kendall Coyne Scofield, which makes sense, right? Because Scofield, last names. But he still plays in the NFL. I believe he just joined the Carolina Panthers this year. That's 2020. So, or actually, it's 2021 now. I keep forgetting the years change, but you know exactly what I mean. Next up on the list is Jesse Becker. Jesse Becker is the Senior Vice President of Marketing for Impossible Foods, which I believe is also located in Chicago, Illinois, so really, really cool. A lot of VPs of marketing joining this ownership group, which is something I noticed, which Makes a ton of sense, right? Because you want marketing experts in order to help grow your brand. And if Chicago Red Stars are going to keep expanding their reach and their brand, you're going to want very big marketing execs with that knowledge. So with them picking up Julie Hadden and also Jesse Becker, that definitely helps in that regard, in that aspect. And plus, when you've got the manager of or Chance the Rapper, that could very well be perhaps a halftime show. Who knows? We can all wish and dream, right? Next up on the list is Brian Walsh. Brian Walsh is one of those examples where I could literally find nothing about him online in terms of social media, in terms of Googling, in terms of going on Bing. I tried it all. I could not find any more information on Brian Walsh. So if any of you know anything about Brian Walsh, feel free to put it down in the comments below. Next up, we have Kevin Willer, who is a partner and member of the Investments Committee of Chicago Investors. It's basically a giant funding agency that helps fund startups in the Chicagoland area. It basically, if I had to sum it up, it seems like he is a venture capitalist, which means he is very wealthy because he's invested in a lot of startups which has grown. It's kind of like basically picture the show Shark Tank if you've ever watched it, but in Chicago. That's what I picture when I picture Kevin Willer. Whether that's right or wrong, that remains to be seen. Moving on next is Jordan Levin, who is the general manager of Rooster Teeth. It is a Texas-based digital media and events company. It is very possible I could have the wrong Jordan Levin here because nothing in the info I found about him remotely mapped him to Chicago, which I thought was a little strange. So I could be wrong on that. If I've got the wrong Jordan Levin, please feel free to let me know down in the comments below. And then the last two include Abel Lescano. Abel Lescano is another example that I could not find anything about online. And then last we have Michael Raimondi. I believe he's a film producer, if I'm not mistaken. So we've got somebody in the film and TV industry as well. Actually, multiple people in the TV and film industry because Sarah Spain is, in fact, in the TV and radio industry. So with all of those owners, in addition, what does the complete ownership group now make up of? So we've got Arnhem Whistler, who's the majority owner and founding member. We've got Steve Ritchie, who is a founding member. We've got Dean Eggerter. Dean Eggerter, yep, he's also a founding member. Then we've got Jesse Becker, Julie Hadden, Israel Adanahe, I said it right this time, Jordan Levin, Abel Iscano, Colleen Maris, Michael Raimondi, Kendall Coyne Scofield, Michael Scofield, Sarah Spain, Marie Tillman, Brian Walsh, Kevin Willer, and David M. Zapata. So that is the complete brand new ownership group of the Chicago Red Stars, which it's really excellent to see that we have a lot of minority owners and a lot of different in just one single group here. It's really cool to see that the NWSL's ownership groups are now being comprised of, instead of just one majority owner who takes over everything, we've got a lot of minority owners who add just a little bit of their perspective into the mix and help make the club overall better. So I like seeing larger ownership groups because more diverse crowds, bigger crowds, provide more perspectives overall and can help grow the club and diversify it a lot. So really exciting to see overall. What are some things I love about this group and what are some things I don't absolutely love about this group? What I love about this group, I've said it or I've alluded to it a couple times in the past 5 minutes. It's a lot of women supporting women. It's icing on the cake that one of the owners is a member of a fellow women's national team in the United States. That's Kendall Coyne Scofield with the United States national hockey team for the United States. Another thing I absolutely love about it is there's lots of Chicago representation. It shows that a lot of these owners have a vested interest in the communities that they operate in and want to truly improve it and make it better. And the next thing is that the group is pretty large. I basically just went into ad nauseum about that for a second ago, so I won't get into that much more. I will say the one thing I forgot to mention, I'm trying to see what percentage of the ownership group is now women. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's not quite majority female owned, but it's pretty close to it. So that's also really cool to see as well. Like I said, more backgrounds, more diversity is always a good thing. And also in this group, I'd say there's an adequate number of backgrounds. There's multiple nationalities represented. Israel Adanahe represents a background from Nigeria, and he's also part Canadian. And then also we've got American because we have a lot of American owners in this group. And the industries are far and wide. They're really vast. They go all the way from music to television to movies to digital media, venture capitalism, philanthropists, athletes, authors. There is such a wide variety of industries in this group. And like I said, those additional perspectives and those additional connections can really make a big difference in growing a franchise, especially in a big city like Chicago, and with the NWSL continuing to grow and women's soccer in general continuing to grow. It can only help them from here on in. So I can't wait to see what this group does. It's going to be great. And the last good thing I really love about this group is that it still has 3 founding members that have been a part of this team for over a decade. It's really cool to see that they are adapting and changing with the times and expanding their group to include more people and getting the right people on top of it. It's clear that, like I said earlier, it's clear that they're investing both on and off the field. They've invested a lot in the offseason, a lot of their trades, their pickup of Mallory Pugh, pickup of allocation money, they're spending of allocate. They're making really smart moves to keep a really strong roster that they already had, while also bolstering it with additional weapons. So it's really cool to see. And then also the investment off the field in the front office and their ownership group, building those connections around the country that they can use in order to grow their brand. It's really, really exciting to see. My excitement for the Chicago Red Stars is just through the roof, if you can't tell already. So those are the things I absolutely love about this ownership group. However, what are some things I don't like so much? In the articles leading up to this ownership group being revealed, it stated that a lot of the names would be really, really familiar to the general public. But if I'm being honest, I had to look up most of these people's names. That could just be because I live under a rock and I don't get out much. But to me, it's a bit of a nitpick. But I was expecting to see like more really, really, really high profile people in this ownership group. That's no disrespect to the people that are in the ownership group, because they are all extremely accomplished individuals who are very successful and are big names in their industries. It's just from a general public perspective, I was expecting just a little bit different, but there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, I love this ownership group. This is just, like I said, me being somewhat critical of it. Another thing about this group that I don't particularly love, like I said earlier, I had to do a lot of research and dig up like multiple search engines, multiple social media platforms in order to find anything about each of these owners. And to me, that's a really big contradiction to the feel of the NWSL. Let me explain that a little bit further. So in the NWSL, the one thing I absolutely love, embrace, and notice with the league is that it is extremely, extremely accessible. They've got an app where you can watch all the highlights of their games. They've got stats. It's really easy to access information from the league. You can watch the draft on Twitch. You can interact with a lot of their players pretty easily. Their players don't have a ton of followers yet, so with that, you have a lot more visibility between you and them. If you make a post on Instagram about them, there's a decent likelihood that they'll see it, which is really, really cool. The NWSL is a very accessible league, and it's something that myself as a fan have really grown to deeply appreciate. And with all the players, the fans, the coaches being accessible, it would seem really strange that we'd have an ownership group in the league that wouldn't be as accessible. Maybe that'll change since a lot of these owners are now being part of this league, but it's just weird that we would have a ton of different owners who aren't necessarily as accessible to the fandom of the NWSL when all the players, coaches are to all of us. So that's just something interesting. I mean, that could obviously change over time. A lot of these people could, or a lot of these owners could end up getting more visible, and I think that would be in the best interest of the club if they did, because then we could get to know them as people and as owners. We could empathize with them, and then we would become more vested in the club overall. So I think it's to their benefit to become more visible, and who knows, new challenges, it grows you, you learn, and I expect the same will happen to this new ownership group. So that's something to keep our eyes peeled on in the future. Wow, that was probably one of the most exciting main topics I've done in a while. Guys, what do you make of the new Chicago Red Stars ownership group? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you have any good nitpicks? Do you have any good things that you love about it that I might not have talked about? Feel free to jump down in the comments below and let me know what you thought. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so with the end of the third and final main topic, that brings us to the end of the podcast episode. Once again, it's an awesome honor and privilege to have all of you supporting the channel each and every week, and I sure do greatly appreciate it. We're on audio, we're on TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube, of course, if you're watching this right now. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, follow us, whatever you feel like doing, or if you feel like doing none of it, that's alright too. So, to close off the episode, I've been Bryce, this has been the Women's Soccer / Football Podcast, and we'll see you next time. And as always, have a great day.